grand opening, grand closing. Welcome, my friends, my family, my fellow gamers. It's your only friend, these YouTube streets, Puerto77, back with another video. I've primarily been a console gamer and you could say for a time arcade gamer pretty much all my life until the arcade scene fell off, right? I played on handhelds, but I honestly barely cared for it. It was so and so. Maybe when I was younger I was into it, but as I got older I moved away from it, right? Didn't really care much for it, right? But consoles has always been my thing. Played a few PC games, but consoles has been the thing. I always enjoyed consoles, and I think, and this conversation is for the console gamers. If you're primarily a PC gamer, you're good, whatever. Handheld gamer, you're good, whatever. This is not really about you guys and stuff like that. This is really for the console gamers that chose a console for this gen, right? That's really it. PC gamers generally are fine and stuff like that. This is specifically for the console users and stuff, right? Those of us that enjoy consoles. And I enjoy consoles for a long time. A lot of times, many gens, I was a multi-console owner because almost every console had something, right, that was attracted to me, right? I had the PS1, I had the Saturn, I had the Dreamcast, I had the Genesis, which was one of my favorite consoles. I had the Master System, I had the NES, the Super NES, I had a TurboGrafx 16, had a Jaguar, didn't have the 3DO, never had a CDI. I didn't have those, way too expensive at the time. Obviously PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, right? Now the PS5 Pro. Had the OG Xbox, right? I had the OG Xbox and the Xbox One. Skipped the 360, even though that's a phenomenal console, because I had it in my household, right, with my brother-in-law, and I just never really bought my own for whatever reason, right? But the 360, fantastic. OG Xbox, one of my favorite consoles of all time, right? GameCube, N64, Super NES, NES. Didn't have the Wii, didn't have the Wii U, didn't have, well, I have Switch, but really my wife plays that. I don't really play it. I'll be honest, so I don't really consider that my thing, right? Um, uh, so any console for me, the consoles I bought and I wanted, is because it's always something I attracted, right? And I have to say, this gen, and for those of you who might agree, if you chose the Switch or the PlayStation, I know you are relieved that you made that choice. I can't be the only one to not to be like, whoo, dodge that bullet, because buying an Xbox Series console this gen was I know it was the mistake. And I know everybody's gonna say, well, everybody's opinion is different, whatever, whatever. But watching the Xbox community right now just primarily talk about the future of Xbox in terms of beyond what they have now, and not talk about what they have now and the games you're about to get over the next 4 years is wild to me. The conversations of OEM hardware, the Xbox handheld, they're out here hyping new next generation handheld in 2026. Like, this generation is so bad for them that they want this generation just to end in 2026. On top of that, you had Xbox dudes that just became refugees and just said, you know what, we're just going to PC in the middle of the gen. They paid their $500 for an Xbox, and they dropped another 1,500 whatever, and they just said, I'm done, PC. And I would just say, as a PlayStation gamer, oh man, and I would assume many Nintendo gamers, if that's your primary device, yo, we dodged the bullet, you know. And it's just crazy because the Xbox community, these gamers, they were the biggest with the vitriol and the lies between Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. Man, 2020 was wild. And I'm so glad that I knew it was all BS. All those Xbox content creators and influencers, just weird stuff, just lying, making up stuff, making promises that it wasn't going to be kept. They'll talk about exclusives and power and performance and mesh shaders and VRS 3.0 and just all this nonsense, and it was all wrong, man. And now that console is the most unappealing product, period. I never seen a product so unappealing in a long time, not since like the Ouya or something. Like, it's bad, right? And I'm glad, what, I feel sorry for those of you that listened and actually believed them, because you got suckered, and you got suckered bad, and now you're like in this halfway into the gen, and you have like you either accept Xbox for what it is, or you're gonna have to pay the extra money to get out of it. You trade it in, get a PC, or you get a PlayStation. It just sucks that you have to do this transition. But I'm gonna tell you, man, PlayStation's phenomenal. And I know there's content creators and grifters. They're gonna talk about, oh, blah 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 blah, the pay that line and all this other shit in Concord. Yeah, there's games that flopped. I said Concord was gonna flop and stuff like that. PlayStation by far is not perfect. Nintendo by far is not perfect. There's small issues on both sides on many platforms. PlayStation issues. I'm not feeling their live service strategy. Now, granted, to be fair, I'm not into multiplayer like I used to, so there is a little bit of bias on that. But Concord was a huge flop. And you know what happens if fair games flop. So they're teetering on the line, right? So we'll see what happens with there. Nintendo, their hardware wasn't all that powerful and stuff like that. They missed out on a lot of great third party. Will they be able to come back to that? Will the Switch be powerful enough to get back some of that mind share from the third party so you don't miss out on some of these big games? There's conversations about that too, right? So there's a little bit of everything on all that stuff. But Xbox, that thing was just trash, and I'm glad I'm not part of that nonsense. I'm glad I didn't like. I bought an Xbox One ultimately because there was towards the latter half, I think it was around 2016, 2017, despite, scalebound counseling, which pissed me off. And if you were new to the channel or if you've been around that long, that was one of my first viral videos, at least for its time, where I was just really upset and pissed off that scalebound got canceled, right? Because I was hoping to buy like a bundle or something. But anyway, I ended up getting the Xbox because of Cuphead. It was a phenomenal exclusive at the time. I mean, now it's on PlayStation, but it wasn't at that time, right? And like I said, man, that I had to play that game, and it was an indie game. And I don't usually rock with a lot of indie games, but Cuphead was just amazing. And I played it. Crazy part is when I beat it, right? The achievement to, when you beat the game, it's at 3%. And I'm like, wow, hardly anyone beat this game. It was just crazy, right? But anyway, but man, all the lies and the nonsense people try to make up about PlayStation, they were wrong. Best console this gen by far. And the Pro is phenomenal. And of course, you got grifters, you got PC gamers doing free labor, trying to build PCs for everybody to prevent them from buying the PS4 Pro. I'm like, I'm not listening to y'all, right? And the next 4 years is going to be phenomenal for PlayStation, right? Intergalactic, Heretic Proctor, Naughty Dog, finally, games, just waiting for that game, right? I'm so hyped. Ghost of Yotai, and then we know about Wolverine on top of that. And then there's more developers that's in the pipeline, right? Sony Bank got their project, Bluepoint got their project, It's just going to be a lot of good stuff, just a lot of good content, and then also third party, and a lot of those games are going to be so important to Pro. Microsoft, if they do create something good, out of their first party studios, guess what? That's on PlayStation, enhanced by the PlayStation 5 Pro. I mean, PlayStation's eating good. Next 4 years is going to be crazy. The last 4 years was good. Next 4 years is just going to be on overdrive, and that's how it should be. It's going to be amazing. And it's just, I know, am I the only one that's just like, dodge that bullet? For those of us that ensured that we didn't listen to those liars and frauds, we saw the truth, and guess what? We went with PlayStation as console owners. We saw, PlayStation's gonna be the best console this gen, and boom, ended up being that. Xbox, we don't know what the hell's going on, and I feel sorry for those of you, like not the fanboys, but the Xbox fans or those that became an Xbox fan because you listen to these people, and now you're like, crap. Now, some of yous are happy with your Xbox because of one thing, Game Pass. Game Pass, I think that's literally the only saving grace for anything pertaining to that console. And if you're happy with Game Pass, then that at least you got that, right? But there's a lot of Xbox gamers, or I'm gonna say some. I think that's a better way to describe. There are some Xbox gamers that are not happy at all because they were told that they were gonna have the best performance, which they didn't. They were told they'll have a huge mindshare market share, which will now make them the priority in the gaming industry. That didn't happen. With all these Microsoft acquisitions, they're going to get these games exclusive at a minimum devices that are where Game Pass is found. That didn't happen, right? They were told about, potential or mid-gen refresh to compete with the Pro. That didn't happen. And right now, the main talk of what they got is either an OEM third-party console or handheld or some magical next generation console in 2026. And that's a bad place to be in. And I feel sorry for you guys that you fell for the influencers and you believed them only to get screwed over. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry you listened to them. I don't know. Make the best decision at this point. That's best for you. But anyway, you let me know. Am I the only one that's like, we made the right choice, boy? We winning in the next 4 years, boy. Oh man, it's gonna cook. Gaming's gonna cook so lovely. At least on PlayStation. Switch, about to get a Switch 2, so we'll see how that goes, right? But man, choosing Xbox this gen, brutal. Brutal. Anyway, your only friend is YouTube Streets Porter77. Let me know what you think. Hit up the comment section. Tell me, were you one of the ones that were like, woo, dodge that bullet? Or did you get caught up on the hype and now you realize you got bamboozled, led astray? You guys take care. Peace. Grand opening.